All right, Thursday night Krug show. Sterling is in the house. I've always said Thursday night is the best night to stream. We got a lot to get to. Is there a quarterback controversy in the future? Dan Orlovsky says yes. We'll start right there. Let's go. Off and running Thursday night on the Krug Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. The best barbecue in all of Northern California is Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they do run out. So get there early, get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. And thanks to Damon and Mary for being proud sponsors of the Krug Show. We're going to be out there for a Krug Show meet and greet during the bye week. So week 14, come out on the Sunday to Pig and a Pickle in Corte Madera, and I'll be there all day just watching football and hanging out. So stop by, have some barbecue, meet Damon and Mary, say hello, maybe have a beer, get some barbecue to go, whatever you got to do. Maybe do some Christmas shopping. It'll be right then between Thanksgiving. It's basically between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So we'll be there at Corte Madera, Pig and a Pickle. And thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. We're also brought to you by Sleeper. Thank you to Sleeper. This entire football season is presented by Sleeper, the fastest growing fantasy platform in the world. It's a one-stop shop. You get blazing fast news, real-time stats, group chat, season-long leagues, and of course, Sleeper picks for daily fantasy. Use promo code Larry and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions do apply. And we have one other thing I want to tell you about with the Christmas holiday just around the corner. Thanksgiving obviously coming up. Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, proud sponsor of the Krug Show. They're in Pacific Grove, California, 205 Cypress Avenue. Anthony Catania is at 831-521-5264. What I was going to tell you is Anthony's got a special for all Krug Show fans. Any sports collectible that you order from anywhere in the country, in the continental U.S., Anthony will pay free shipping through the holidays. So you order a big sports collectible, you live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, he's going to ship it from Pacific Grove, California to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he is paying for the shipping. So there you go. All of your sports cards and collectibles at Sharp Corners, Sports Cards and Collectibles, will come with free shipping for all Krug Show fans between now and the holidays. So thanks to Sharp Corners, Sports Cards and Collectibles. All right. Let's get off and roll on this topic. I'm going to share the screen right out of the chute. This was something that caught my eye today. It was on Coach Yak's Twitter, and it was basically ESPN, Dan Orlovsky getting on their morning show, and this is what he had to say about the Niner quarterbacks.
Yeah, there is a brewing quarterback controversy, competition, whatever you want in San Francisco. Brock Purdy, really good player. Mac Jones has been absolutely sensational in his time. Doing it with people that have been beat up, stars and perimeter players that haven't been healthy. He's been knocked around, yet this team somehow, even with all those injuries, is still in the playoff race, and it's because of the quarterback play. There's a quarterback controversy brewing in San Francisco.
Do you agree? Is there a quarterback controversy brewing in San Francisco? I'm sure I have thoughts on this. I'm sure you have thoughts on this. I'm sure many Niner fans have thoughts on this, and feel free to throw your thoughts in the chat. And thanks ahead of time for those who decide they want to throw super chats on there. We'll get to all those, but we'll read some of them as well, even some non-supers. But Sterling, what do you got? What do you got? What do you think? Is there a quarterback controversy? If there isn't one now, do you see the possibility of a quarterback controversy beginning here? How do you see this the situation at quarterback for the 49ers, where they went from having no quarterbacks a few years ago, or not having a good enough quarterback. Now they actually have two guys that they feel good about. But some people say if you have two, you don't have one. So where are you on the Niner quarterbacks? Is it a controversy in the present? Does it have potential to be a controversy in the future?
I think if you're telling fans, there's a quarterback controversy. I think that it's a little short-sighted. I think that you see Mac Jones play really good football this season, then you wonder like what could the future look like for San Francisco. Purdy's been out for a long time. Last time we saw him, he wasn't playing great whatsoever. And I think that has some fans kind of forgetting how good Brock Purdy has been and was the last couple of years. I think that it's really hard for me to buy into there being a quarterback controversy because the offense is scoring 20 points a game. They're 20th in football in points. Mac Jones is playing good. I'm not saying he's not. He's done far more than I thought he would coming into the year. Fits the offense very well. I just don't like the idea that because Mac Jones is playing well, that Brock Purdy can't play better. And I think that some fans point to how last year went as a knock on Brock, where I would say, if you gave Brock Purdy a defense holding teams to under right now 21 points a game and a kicker that can actually make some kicks, you're probably seeing a playoff team last year, which that's crazy to say, but it's probably true. So I get it. Niners are winning. Mac Jones looks really good. Your $53 million quarterback has only played 2 games this year, but I'd pump the brakes on there being a quarterback controversy, at least now. Now, if Mac Jones goes to the playoffs and wins you a game, maybe we're having a different conversation, but I don't know if this regime can afford to have a third franchise quarterback, if you will, not pan out for them.
You know, I will say this. I think they've done everything in their power to not have it be a controversy. I think they've got a great quarterback room, right? I think, Mac, Brock, Adrian Martinez, Curtis Rourke, you got 4 guys there, all roughly 25, 26, whatever age they are. They're roughly the same age. And they get good vibes, because Brock shares and tries to help, and Jones is very respectful, and so I think there's a good vibe in the room. I think that's actually kind of an underrated thing. I remember an old coach I used to work with in the Canadian League told me that the quarterback room, the chemistry in the quarterback room would eventually become the chemistry in the locker room. So if your quarterback room has bad chemistry, that eventually you're going to have bad chemistry in your locker room. And if your quarterback room has good chemistry, that invariably you're going to have good chemistry in your locker room. And that was his belief. And I understand that because, you have guys, sometimes if you don't have a healthy situation, you got guys who are undercutting one another. And then the other players feel that, and then they feel almost the need to kind of choose sides, and it fractures the team. And instead of having one leader, you have, teams going in different directions. So I understand the whole thing, but the Niners made Brock Purdy the guy when they committed to him in May, when they signed him for 5 years, $265 million, and gave him $181 million guaranteed on a contract that runs through 2030. They essentially committed to Brock Purdy right then and there. But Mac Jones has played so well that it's undoubted, there's many Niner fans that undoubtedly look at him now and say, man, this guy is a natural in Kyle Shanahan's offense. And why is he a natural? Because he's accurate. I mean, that at the end of the day, I would say that's his greatest thing. He's incredibly accurate. He's accurate with his passes. He can process what he sees. He's football smart. He can make all the throws. He's a good decision maker. Those things I think have been surprising. But one thing that's just been really a surprise is that he has walked in and he's become kind of an underrated leader, and he's done it by just being himself. He's not trying to be anybody but himself. So I kind of think this is all about what the 49ers do. I don't think there's a quarterback controversy in the present, but there very easily could be one in the future. I'm looking at their numbers. Okay, here are the numbers. Purdy's 24-14 career. He's got an NFC title game victory to his credit and a Super Bowl berth, 68 touchdowns, 31 picks, 67.4 completion percentage, 8.8 yards per attempt, 4-2 in the playoffs, 6 touchdowns and 1 interception in those 6 playoff games. This year, Purdy's 1-1. He's completed 65.8%, 4 touchdowns, 4 picks. All right. So now Jones, by comparison, I said Purdy's 24-14. Jones is 25-31 career, under 500. 64 touchdowns, 49 interceptions, so quite a few more interceptions. 66.1% completion percentage, almost identical to Brock's. 6.8 yards per attempt. He doesn't drive the ball down the field as much as Purdy. 0-1 in the playoffs with 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. This year, though, Jones is 5-2. He's completing 67.2%, 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. If you're asking the question, can the Niners get out of Purdy's contract? They can get out of Purdy's contract. They can't get out of Purdy's contract until after next season without owing him. They can get out of his contract after 2026 without owing him his 2028 compensation. The deadline to get out of it is April 1st, 2027. If they get out of the contract by then, they don't owe him anything in 2028. If they decided they wanted to make that knee-jerk reaction and get rid of Brock there in April 1st of 2027, they would incur a dead cap hit of $36 million. So that's the situation at quarterback. But I think that it's not a quarterback controversy right now. But like, give you an example. If by chance the 49ers rush Brock back and he played this week and he got and he played really poorly, and then they went back to Jones, and then Jones next week played really, really well, I think that right there would be the birth of a real controversy. Where I think the Niners can avoid the controversy, Sterling, is if they just hold Brock Purdy out until Brock Purdy's really ready to roll. And then I think they're going to dodge it. Why? Because I think if Brock Purdy's ready to roll, I think Brock Purdy's better than Mac Jones. And I think if he's healthy and he can get out there and be Brock Purdy, I think after he shakes off a little rust, he'll once again ascend to that starting job, and nobody will question it. But if they go to him too soon and he fails, and they go back to Jones and Jones succeeds, especially based on what we've already seen this year, there will be lots and lots and lots of 49er people and lots of people nationally. Well, first of all, it'll be a big talking point nationally because of the iconic nature of the Niners. And because it's a quarterback deal on a playoff team. But I really do think if there's a high profile Purdy failure followed by a high profile Jones success, it will be inevitable that there'll be a controversy, whether the Niners want to feed into it or not, whether they fuel it or not. It will have a life of its own if we have one bad Purdy performance and one good Jones performance in the next couple of weeks. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I think San Francisco is going to avoid the back and forth of quarterback play. Once Purdy's out there and you believe he can play the rest of the season, you're not going to see Mac Jones again. And I think that'll calm fans down, whether Purdy plays bad or not. There may be some fire early asking for Jones to be back out there. But ultimately, I think that a lot of this is the fact that we saw Purdy week 1. He wasn't great. 2 picks that also weren't great. They won the football game, had a nice touchdown pass in the back of the end zone. It just was a miracle. It happened. Oh my God, incredible play. Maybe got lucky. Who knows? I would just say this: the same people that would criticize Purdy for that throw would praise Mac Jones for it right now and say, "Oh my God, what a gamer!" And it's like, well, I mean,
I don't know. I mean, are you getting the sense that there's people that are really petty about this? I got the sense that Niner fans. I mean, there's always going to be people that are like Brock's too small or whatever.
Sure.
Or they're recency bias, right?
Well, just take the comment here. Purdy hasn't been good since the Ravens game. When it's not true at all.
Yeah, that's not true.
Purdy was phenomenal in the playoffs. Like, he was phenomenal. He won them the game against the Lions late because they were down because the defense was so bad. It's like,
Wait. That's not even saying Purdy wasn't good since the Ravens game on Thanksgiving. I would push back on that. I
also just think it to me, yes, winning is the most important thing. The same fans that are asking for Brock to lose his job to Mac Jones, and I get it. Jones is a former first-round talent at Alabama, very proven quarterback in regards to winning at the collegiate level. not so much in the NFL, but now he has a nice supporting cast around him. And he has probably one of the best offensive play callers helping him as a quarterback. But the same people that were saying, oh, like Purdy's done, put Mac Jones in, you're just watching the 2019 Niners offense all over again. And that same group hated that offense because it had a ceiling to it. Like Mac Jones, for as good as he can be, there is a clear glass ceiling to his play. Yeah, it can be good. Yeah, everything can work itself out. You win football games. The defense has to hold opponents to under 22 points a game to win that way. Whereas Brock Purdy, albeit has not been great this year, I think has shown over his last 3 or 4 years of playing in the NFL that he can hold teams and carry offenses to 35 points a game at a time when everything's cooking right. And it hasn't this year, and I get that, and it wasn't last year too. But even last year, you give Purdy an average defense, that's a 9-win team. And that's a crazy thing to say. You give him an actual functional kicker, that's a 10-win team. They had 7 one-score games last year, and they would have won those had they had an actual functioning special teams that wasn't dead last in football, which this year it's 9th, and a kicker that can actually make kicks every single game. Like winning, yeah, it's important. It's the most important thing in football, but so is quarterback play. And right now, Mac Jones is playing really good football. But Purdy has shown over and over again that he's a better quarterback, a better playmaker, and he can do things that Mac Jones simply can't. Now, Purdy has to play better when he comes back than he did against the Seahawks and against the Jaguars. That's true 100%. But let's not erase Purdy's entire resume of success because Mac Jones has played good for 7 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I mean, I feel like Purdy's the better player, but with the turf toe and the impact of the turf toe, I definitely think that Jones is better because Purdy with turf toe doesn't have the ability to run away. And Purdy without great mobility is not Purdy. And then Purdy with the turf toe is also, based on what I saw against Jacksonville, now we'll see what happens next time we see him, but I think his accuracy is impacted. I think his arm strength is impacted. So the Purdy that has turf toe, I think Jones is better than. But the Purdy that we've seen that has next level mobility, that level of escapability, I mean, that's Patrick Mahomes-esque. That's a level of movement ability that Jones doesn't have. I do think, though, that Jones looks great in this Kyle Shanahan offense. And I do think that Jones is better than Brock Purdy when Brock Purdy's diminished. And so then the question is, what Brock Purdy are you getting back? Are you getting back a Brock Purdy that's better than Jones? Or are you getting back a Brock Purdy that's worse than Jones? That's the question. And that's kind of what we don't have the answer to. Now, I thought there was another interesting wrinkle this week because a guy that Brock Purdy really, really respects told him, hey, you just got to go take the job back. And that's Steve Young. He went on KMBR and said this. Listen to this. This is pretty juicy from Steve Young, and we'll react to it. Here it is.
I think they're probably saying, look, Brock, until you're 100%, well, when is that? At some point, Brock, I suspect, would say, hey, enough. I'm playing. And I just, those conversations, I got to believe have happened. If Brock could go out, I think Brock would force it. I think it must be that Brock doesn't feel like he can. Because to me, if it was me and I'm watching what's happening on the field, Bill Walsh was always the one that said, it's pretty ironic, how snide he could be in this comedic form. He'd be like, hey, if you're not in the huddle, you're not in the huddle. You're like, well, thanks for that tip, But in that way, as a player, you better get in the huddle. And so I feel like if Brock could somehow play, he would force the issue. I would. Yeah. I would force it publicly. I'd force it privately. I would make it happen. Yeah. And so it must be, and I know Brock, I would suspect he can't make it happen. And because he's just not healthy enough.
Yeah, we watched you force it, Steve. Say, hey, we lived it. Hey, by the way, you said something.
There you go, a little bit of Steve Young on KMBR. What do you think? I mean, in some ways, he's advocating like, hey, man, just go take it. But I think Brock knows that Brock at his level with the injury is not as good as Jones. And so I think Brock I think he understands where he's at. I think, I asked Shanahan, I said, this got to be killing him. And he's like, well, he's very, he's mentally mature. He's also called a lot of people to talk about this. So he knows what to expect. So it's not like he doesn't know what to expect, but yeah, he's chomping at the bit to get back. I mean, Sterling, he's got to be feeling terrible. You got everything you want. You got your brand new wife. You get your brand new baby. You get your brand new contract. You got a team. Were you or were you not going to be an NFL quarterback? You were. You made it. You got the deal. You've done everything. And now all you got to do is what you can do, and that's play quarterback and lead this team. And boom, out of nowhere, you get a turf toe. And turf toe sounds so benign, so nothing. But in reality, it impacts every aspect of what he does, from his ability to protect himself, his ability to escape, his ability to be accurate, his ability to drive the ball down the field. It's all impacted by this. So I kind of think he knows. And I'll say this, what I'm hoping that the Niners see this the way I see this. The way I see this, and I think you probably know, I think I may have shared this with you, is that the Niners made an initial decision to hold him out for a couple weeks and then brought him back. It was too soon to bring him back. Okay, so now they're trying to do it again, and they're trying to figure out what's the best way to do this. I think if it was me, and I'm hoping this is week 10, I believe, right? We're coming up on week 14 is their bye week. So we only have a couple more games before the bye week. Then you got an extra bye week. You get that extra week for the bye. You've already held him out this long. Jones has got a little bit of a rhythm going. The team's got a little bit of a rhythm going, even though they win one, lose one, win one, lose one. But that's more of a function of the schedule and the difficulty. I would stay with Brock to the bye week, and then in the bye week, or stay with Jones, I should say, and in the bye week, go to Brock and just say, hey, we're going back to you out of the bye. And guess what? We're going to stick with you the rest of the way if you can endure it and play well. And if you can endure the pain and play well, you're going to be the guy the rest of the way, the rest of the regular season and the playoffs. If you can't endure it, we'll go to Mac and we'll stay with Mac and we'll play you as the number 2 off the bench, especially in the playoffs, because we're not going to go with Adrian Martinez. We'll go with you in the playoffs as the backup. But if you can't go continuously, we'll go to Mac the rest of the way. And I think that's I think that's reasonable. I think it's fair. I think it's appropriate. And it gives him plenty of time to heal. And then you can look yourself you can look your fans in the eye. You can look Brock in the eye. You look everybody in the eye and say, hey, look, we did what we could do to get this guy right. The only other thing I would say is I don't understand why he's practicing. And if turf toe can be aggravated at any movement, then then having him practice may not be smart. So, but that's how I would play it. I think if they try to go to him sooner and he can't do it, I think it kind of hurts the team a little bit. I did hear Shanahan say today that he thinks he'll be back before the end of the year. Yeah. But I'd hold him. I'd be very conservative, hold him out through the bye, and then promise him coming out of the bye, you're not just going to be the guy. You're going to be the guy until you can't be the guy. And then if you can't be the guy after that, we're going with Jones and we're going with him the rest of this year.
Well, is that
you're going to get healthy, so I think that's fair. I mean, if I was Brock, I mean, heck, you gave it 2 weeks off and then you gave him like 8 weeks off, or 9 weeks off, even more. I think. I don't know. I don't. How could he argue with that? To me, that seems like a better plan than just throw him out there next week.
So I believe if, let's say, San Francisco does that and schedules the bye week to be the big return of Brock Purdy as their starting quarterback, I believe that would get them through the Cleveland Browns game. You'd avoid playing Myles Garrett and company out there in Cleveland on the road, and you'd have Brock come back against the Tennessee Titans, who are terrible. So pretty easy game to return to. Get him settled back into the flow of things. Then it's the Colts on the road. Then it's the Bears at home and Seattle at home as well. Now, I have said plenty of times on my own show. I'm sure on yours as well, on these streams on Thursday nights. But I think San Francisco has to win 10 games this year, and they can go to the playoffs. They're 6-3. Can you win 4 more games? I'm going to assume this Sunday's probably a chalked up loss, but I'll give San Francisco a fighting chance, of course, against the Rams. Already beat them once this year. The Cardinals game will be tough. NFC West games are always tricky. But I'd like to think San Francisco can win that game pretty handily, knowing that it's Jacoby Brissett, not Kyler Murray. Then it's the Panthers and the Browns. The Browns are bad, good defense with a bad offense. And the Panthers are iffy, primetime Monday Night Football. You should be able to at least win 2 more games before Brock Purdy returns. Let's say it's post-bye week. That means Brock Purdy has to win 2 of his next 4 games, play 500 football. That's probably a pretty good bet when you have games against the Titans, the Colts, who are playing good now. We'll see how the season goes, and Daniel Jones down the stretch. Then it's the Bears, who are really iffy, give up 40 points against the Bengals, who are a good offense, but still. I do wonder, though, with Purdy, that you don't want him to come back until he's fully healthy. You don't want him to come back until he can be the guy for the remainder of the season, if he can do that whatsoever. But I do believe that there has to be some sort of self-preservation from San Francisco's standpoint. If he can't play, if he isn't getting better, you have to shut him down simply because you can't not have your franchise quarterback come back and get hurt again and then need surgery in the offseason, which he doesn't need now, according to Kyle Shanahan. You can't afford that. That will be Brock Purdy's, if he does need surgery when it's all said and done, his second offseason surgery, walking into a training camp injured, hoping to come back and be 100%. You don't want that. That's a UCL, and then it's a toe. And he's a smaller guy.
And that's if he doesn't get hurt, in this last stretch where he's not able to really really escape. I mean, that's what my bigger concern would not just be the toe, is that I don't think he's got the mobility to get out of harm's way, and he's behind one of the NFL's mediocre lines at best.
It's playing better now, but it's still not great.
Right. I mean, and so I mean that is the question is, like, how well can he protect himself, and does he have a more significant injury, by the end of this year? Okay, couple things. Let's talk about the first matchup for a second. The Niners won in week 5 in LA in a game where the Rams were 8.5-point favorites. Shanahan told his team before the game, he's like, these guys, we're 8.5-point dogs. And you could tell, I mean, he was disgusted by it. Niners came out, they won the first quarter 7-0. It was 17-7 at halftime. It was 20-14 at the end of the third quarter. It was 23-20 at the end of the fourth quarter, and the Niners win in overtime 26-23. A buddy of mine who's a Rams fan sent me a voicemail earlier this week. He's like, the Niners got effing lucky in week 5, and they're going to get their doors blown off this week. So I'll throw it to you, Sterling. Did the Niners get effing lucky in week 5 against the Rams?
I think San Francisco did a great job to begin that game, playing keep away, had these long, grueling drives, taking advantage of the Rams' mistake. They had a fumble early from Blake Corum, forced by Travis Gibson. And they just kept taking advantage of what the Rams were giving them. That said, Matthew Stafford in that second half was on God mode. He was incredible. And I do think at some point San Francisco did, like, the Rams got in their own way more than San Francisco getting in their own way. Like, the Alfred Collins fumble aside, it was a great play. They went for the win on fourth down. They could have gone for a tie. I think if you asked McVay, he would have not ran the football with Kyron again. You would have certainly put the ball in Matthew Stafford's hand with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. So from that aspect, yes, I think you got lucky. Kendrick Bourne played out of his mind in that football game. Your offensive line held up pretty well. Mac Jones was eating bananas on the sideline to stay healthy, and he was on the ground in pain for a lot of it. Pinheiro hit a career-long 55, 57-yard field goal. Like, a lot of things went right for San Francisco. Would I say it was lucky? Maybe not, but a lot of things went right for them in that game. And I'd probably be with your friend in saying that, well, I think it'll probably be a one-score game on Sunday. Matthew Stafford's playing great football. The Rams offense looks tremendous. And I think that there's a real chance the Rams come into San Francisco and just blow their doors off, like your friend said.
Well, I don't know if the Niners got lucky. I think the Niners had a gritty game plan. Okay. Yeah. They had a gritty game plan. Was there good fortune in this game? Absolutely. Joshua Carty missed a field goal. Yeah. Joshua Carty missed an extra point. But that's what we've learned is that's Josh Carty.
Yeah, he's been all year.
Yeah, he's bad. I mean, they picked up another kicker this week to compete with him, I believe. So that was a major advantage for sure. Also, or major, positive. The Rams had 10 hits on the quarterback, but only 1 sack. I think that I thought was a key factor in the game, for sure. And then, the Niners recovered a couple fumbles. Travis Gibson and Alfred Collins, recovered fumbles. That was, they got the fortunate bounce there. They got the career game from Kendrick Bourne, who had 10 catches for 142 yards. The Rams ran for 5 yards a carry, but only ran it 16 times all day and passed it 47. And then I thought the Niners, as I said, gritty game plan. They ran for 2.2 yards a carry, but they ran 33 times, and they committed to the run. And then Jones threw 49 times for 342 yards. I'll say this. I think they were lucky in the sense that every time Kyle Shanahan and not every time, but most of the time when Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay get together, Kyle Shanahan somehow lures McVay into this measuring contest. It always becomes this referendum on toughness. And there was that game a few years ago where the Niners were bad and they rolled in on a Thursday nighter and they ran it 18 times and they dominated the Rams. They really made it a gritty game. And the Rams, who had a major advantage passing, were like, oh, we're going to run it right back at you. But they had Sony Michel and they just couldn't do it. Right. And they lost. And then this game, you get to 4th and 1 and you have Stafford, who's thrown for he threw for 389 in that game. They only sacked him 1 time. He threw Puka 12 passes. Puka caught 10. They had no way to defend that. They had already gone to Stafford to Puka once in short yardage, and it was the easiest pitch and catch you've ever seen to run a sub 200-pound back right into the mouth of Alfred Collins and Michael Williams, 2 of the better run defenders that the Niners have. When you could have dropped when you could have dropped, done a quick 3-step drop, Stafford to Puka. That to me was unstoppable. Even McVay said after the game, he's like, I cost my team the game. My call cost the team the game. I was going to ask Shanahan about that this week and be like, have you ever had a moment like that where you felt like that? But then, Shanahan's not very good at blaming himself. And he might have looked at that as kind of an argumentative question. If I had said, have you ever blamed yourself? Why am I going to open up this can of worms of when I blame myself? I'm not going to share that. But McVay did share that and did blame himself. And I have a feeling he's going to have a hell of a game plan in this second game. So I'll say this. They didn't luck out. It wasn't like lucky. It was a gritty, tough, hard-fought win. And the Niners are a little bit tougher, I think, than the Rams across the board. But I definitely think they benefited from that McVay call there at the end, because I think McVay got lured into this mano-a-mano thing when he should have passed the ball on 4th down and they would have converted. I'm pretty convinced they would have converted. So I don't think the Niners lucked out, but let's just say this: they were some fortuitous happenings in that game.
What's the old saying? It's better to be lucky than good sometimes. And I think San Francisco, in some aspects of that game, got a little lucky. Some bounces went their way, and that's never a bad thing. You'll take it whenever you can. Whenever the Rams fans can walk out of SoFi, however many there are, 5, 10 of them, who knows, with their head, hanging low in their tail between their legs, it's a great thing. I just look at the Niners now without Fred Warner, without Micah Williams, against the Rams offense, that I do think their stats are somewhat jaded because they played the Ravens with no Lamar Jackson. They played Tyler Shugg in his NFL debut against the Saints last weekend. They really haven't played the best opponents, but if you watch what they're doing, they're kind of going away from 11 personnel. They're spreading defenses out wide. They're opening up space. And I just think that while the Niners didn't get completely lucky in the game against the Rams in week 5, I think that they are going to be less lucky on Sunday because you have Matthew Stafford playing an MVP level. You had Tatum Bethune, who's having a good season, had 2 of his 3 good starts, but not the great coverage linebacker that Fred Warner is. He's the best in football. And I think they're at least susceptible to Stafford just slicing and dicing them the entire game. Now, if McVay goes to the run, San Francisco has a great chance because they're not running the football well whatsoever in Los Angeles this year. I think that's what you want. You want to force the Rams to run the football. You want to force the Rams to use Kyron and use Blake Corum. And if you could do that, if you can kind of hit them in the mouth early on first down when they're going to use Matthew Stafford in the passing game, you have a good chance. I think the Niners secondary played a heck of a game against the Giants last weekend. And I think that, they're kind of hitting their stride. So is the offensive line. So is the running game in 2 of the last 3 weeks. The Niners will always have a chance against the Rams. That's just how things are. But Rams are hot, playing good football, scoring 28 points a game, 26 points a game. And I think that the Niners, where they have holes, might be bigger. The Rams have nobody out besides Akella Witherspoon, which, no offense to him, doesn't move the needle too much. So I think that we're in for another dogfight on Sunday, which will be fun to watch. You have to give the advantage to the healthier team that has the better quarterback, has better offensive weapons, not named Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle, and a healthier defense that has better pass rush, albeit not better coverage players. But I think Rams-Niners is always good. It'll be a fist fight till the end, though.
Let's talk trade deadline. It came, it went, had a major stream, but 10,000 people in the room for our stream that day. It was an absolute amazing stream, but no move was made.
Yeah.
I like others was disappointed. I think I'll say there's just a lot of disingenuous people out there. I mean, there were an awful lot of people who talked an awful lot about the 49ers making a move. And then when they didn't make a move, they were like, you know what? These people that expected a move, they didn't know what the heck well, it's like, dude, if I go back to your last 25 videos, you've probably mentioned the trade deadline 20 times. And then now what? So now the Niners don't do anything and you're just going to pivot and be like, I didn't expect them to do anything, really. Then why did you mention it 25 times in all these different videos and reference that they should get help and they might get help? I think the bottom line is, beyond all the back and forth idiocy, the 49er fans wanted to see the Niners be active. And John Lynch has spoiled 49er fans. He's popularized the midseason trade to the point now where I think the asking prices have gone up. And so now he's hurt by the something that he popularized. And he went on KMBR and he said, hey, we weren't going to go get fleeced. We weren't going to go overpay. It's just not good business. The talk was that maybe they offered a 4th-round pick for Jermaine Johnson, and maybe the Jets were holding tight on a 2. I personally wasn't as much about, they needed this guy or that guy. I just looked at it as it's another opportunity to continue to build and just continue to build. This idea, people always, I love the people who always, the revisionist history people are like, hey, man, it wasn't worth trading your entire draft for a rental. Who the fuck advocated that? who advocated trading your entire draft for a rental? I mean, so it's like people will like to carve out anything to make the point they want to make. If they want to defend the team, they'll be like, you know what? It wasn't worth them trading every draft pick they have for the next 5 years for somebody who's only going to be here for 5 games. When were they going to do that? Who's advocating that? So there's a lot of people that play these weirdo games like that. Ultimately, I look at it this way: keep building. And the other thing is, don't tell me about the 4 trades you made. You've lost Fred Warner since that point. You lost Nick Bosa since that point. Those were trades that you made to put together the team. You opted not to just almost completely sit out free agency and kiss off guys that you didn't need to kiss off, that there wasn't a great benefit in kissing off, the Leonard Floyds, the Malik Collinses of the world. You voluntarily kissed those guys off. Some of these moves were made to pick up for the guys you had lost. So, trading for Brian Robinson at the beginning of the year is not a reason that you wouldn't trade for pass rush help when you lost your best pass rusher. Trading for Bryce Huff in the offseason would not be a reason why you wouldn't need, help after you lose Fred Warner. These things happened more recently. My whole thing is I just want to see them keep building. I don't think they're doing a particularly great job on day 1 or day 2. I think the proof's in the pudding. You can look at the picks yourself and judge for yourself. Bosa picked himself. Other than that, I mean, they've got Aiyuk to show for their number ones. Everybody else is kind of speculative, Mikel, Pearsall, or a bust. So it's, they haven't necessarily crushed the top of the draft. So I was open-minded to them moving a pick because, hey, you know what? Keep building. But I didn't necessarily need to see an edge rusher. I was kind of hoping that they would go for like a DeFondre Sweat, a big complimentary piece to Mikel inside. But for the future, more of a deal that isn't necessarily. I mean, people are like, oh, you can't go for a rental. Was McCaffrey a rental? Was Trent Williams a rental? Heck, no. Screw that. Was Charles Omenihu a rental? A lot of these guys were here beyond the year that they were traded for. So it's this idea that it had to be a rental. It didn't have to be a rental. It could have been somebody that was under contract. And then you look at Philly. Philly gave their 3rd round pick for Jalen Phillips, and the Niners said, nah, we don't want to do that. But the Niners have invested 3rd round picks in the last 5 years in Cam Latu, Jake Moody, Jair Brown, guys that aren't a zit on Jalen Phillips' ass. So before we sit there and go, bend over backwards, patting them on the back for sitting it out, let's not forget that they have not necessarily done real well with their 3rd round picks. And so, can't really rip Philly for adding a guy like Jalen Phillips. So anyway, it's a long way of saying that I was disappointed that they didn't do anything significant because they really need the help. And I think, Keon White's going to be, I think that was a pretty nice ad. I think Cleve Farrell was a nice ad. I just don't think it was enough. And it's kind of it's not a white flag deal, but you're like, where would you, I would kind of say that the Niners they're a playoff contender and anybody who gets in the playoffs has a shot, but without the help, I give them a puncher's shot. And
sure.
If I was Robert Saleh, all I would say to them is, guys, you have a puncher's shot, but guess what? A puncher's shot starts with a punch. So let's start throwing some against the Rams in this game. Let's really bring some defensive intensity and let's show up ready to fight. Because to me, the team that's ready to fight in this game is probably going to win it. But I didn't love that they didn't get help because I think this now gives them only a puncher's shot at winning the Super Bowl. What do you think?
Okay. I think San Francisco did the right thing. And I think that the asking prices were too high. Jermaine Johnson's not worth the reported 2nd round draft pick. You're not trading a 1st round draft pick. At least that's the report. of the asking price for Trey Hendrickson. You're not doing that deal. You can't afford to pay somebody else $35 million a year going forward with Purdy's contracts, Aiyuk's contracts, other guys' contracts going up as the years go by. I think you can point to San Francisco's failures in the draft, sure. However, 16 of their 22 draft picks are starting for them this year if they're fully healthy. And I get that they're not fully healthy, and that stinks. We can talk about third-round draft picks. This team has been known to trade away third-round draft picks. Chase Young was acquired for a third-round draft pick. However, I think that it's unfair to compare Philadelphia in the middle of their Super Bowl window to San Francisco in the midst of their retooling season. San Francisco did not walk into this year going for a Super Bowl. They walked in hoping to retool, get younger, and bet on young guys playing up to par as the year goes on. However, when you lose Purdy, you lose Warner, you lose Bosa, you didn't have Kittle for 5 weeks or so, that is a detriment to your team and almost makes the GM somewhat hesitant to make deals, knowing that you have to have draft picks to build a roster around the core that's aging going forward. Now, yes, I would want San Francisco to go get an edge rusher. This team needs bodies. They don't have bodies. However, looking at their draft picks this year, that 7th round draft pick they have, you hope you can go get somebody. That might actually go back to New England in the Keon White deal if he plays 7 games for you. That may not even be your draft pick. Thus, you kind of can't trade it away. There are 4 4th-round draft picks. 3 of them are compensation picks. So a team may say, we don't want a pick in the 4th round that might actually be a 6th rounder or may not have when it's all said and done. Now, I don't know what deal you would have made. I wouldn't have paid for Bradley Chubb. I don't think he's that good of a player. I don't think he helps you too much this year going forward. He's too injury prone. You're not paying up for Jermaine Johnson. The Giants weren't trading Thibodeau. You couldn't pay up for Hendrickson. I don't think San Francisco didn't get guys for a lack of trying. I just think it really is the market was too big. The inflation was too high. And San Francisco said, hey, our entire defense is basically draft picks right now. That's who's insulated ourselves. That's what has helped us stay afloat this year with great coaching alongside of it. On offense, like your starters are kind of in place right now, but this team as it's currently constructed isn't good enough to go all the way. So why double down? Why put ourselves in a deeper hole going in 2026 when Michael's off an injury, Bosa's off an injury, Fred's off an injury? You need to have young guys to help them, knowing they probably aren't going to be big spenders again in free agency once the year's over with. So, of course, like all fans, I'm one of them. I would have liked to have a player at the deadline. I would have loved Jermaine Johnson for a 4th-round pick or a 3rd-round draft pick, but the Jets, one of the two. I think it would have been malpractice. It would have been borderline idiotic to pay that price for a guy off an Achilles tear who's missed time this year, that you have 2 years of control, which includes a 5th-year option next year, not part of his rookie deal that is a lower price player. You can't do that. And I think that San Francisco isn't in the place to be a top buyer anymore in 2026. They're not. They're not good enough. This team is not good enough to go win a Super Bowl. And they know that. That's why they didn't buy anybody else.
Well, here's the thing on this. It's like, I get it that people are like, you know what? It wasn't the right time. They've had too many injuries and the Bosa and the Warner, and that's why they didn't make the move. But built into that is this assumption that next year's better.
Sure.
Built into that is the assumption that the year after is better. Built into that is the assumption is the year after that's better. But
Sure.
What if I told you that this was the best roster that the Niners are going to have over the next 4 or 5 years? That this roster that has CMC and Kittle and Trent Williams and the guys that they have right now across the board, even with the injuries, is still better than the roster they're going to have in the future. See, if I told you this was their best,
Warner and Bosa and Purdy, that roster really doesn't stand a chance. You have Jawan Jennings as your number 1 wide receiver. You're not winning a playoff game like that.
But they have Purdy right now. I mean, they, supposedly
Purdy's
going to come back.
They don't have Purdy. They have Mac Jones playing quarterback.
No, I know, but they say they're getting Purdy back. I mean, Shanahan said today they're getting Purdy back.
They've been saying Brandon Ayuk's window's open for a month now, but it's not.
My point is that if 5 years comes and goes and the 49ers are never as close to the Super Bowl as they are right now, I don't think people are going to have the same feeling about them kind of sitting this thing out. I think people are okay sitting it out because they think that they're going to be better next year. But that's kind of doesn't make any sense because Kittle's your best player. Trent's your best player. CMC's your best player. Those are your Fred's your best player. Bosa's your best player. They're all worse next year. Heck, Williams.
We don't know that.
They're all worse next year. Oh, they're absolutely.
That's not true. We don't know
that. They're absolutely all worse next year.
You can't guarantee that. I can't guarantee that either.
Well, absolutely, you could. Yes, you absolutely could. Name me players. This is not baseball. You don't have down years, and up years, and up years and down years. Guys, when they crest the curve, they go down. Older players don't get better. Older players get worse. If any older player,
they're going to go down next year.
If any older player gets better, it's a freak of nature.
Sure.
The older players get worse. All those players have already played their best football. Do you really think that there's better football coming than what we've already seen from Bosa, Warner, Kittle, CMC, or Trent? I don't. I think they've all
said the exact same thing last year when Christian McCaffrey missed the entire year and he's coming back and might have 1,000 yard season.
Well, but you're talking about a younger player, but even so, yes, Christian McCaffrey.
Not. He's older than he was last year, coming off 3 pretty serious injuries.
Yeah, but you're still talking about a 29-year-old back. You're not talking about a 33-year-old back.
Sure.
So everybody gets worse when they get older. Okay. Everybody.
Wouldn't you want younger guys around that core that's aging if they're going to get worse to insulate yourself and have younger guys that you can hope have high potential around those guys to lift them up too?
Okay, that's a great point. If they hit, but their real malpractice is that they don't hit. And let's review this. Let's review this.
But if you trade a second-round draft pick and that guy sucks too, and you miss, then you miss anyways.
Yeah, but if you're missing in the second round, like they're missing, if you're missing in the third round, like
they're not.
Well, wait a second.
Okay,
this is what they have. Missed. Okay,
they have.
Are you gonna let me lay this out here? Or are you gonna interrupt me? 18 picks in the first 3 rounds that they have missed on. 5 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks, and 10 third-round picks. 18 picks. That's the problem. If the 49ers had missed on half those picks, imagine what they would be. Imagine if the 49ers today had 9 more players that they drafted in the first round, second round, or third round. So the fans are just looking at this going, wait a second. Why are you so bullish on retaining your third round pick when you've used third round picks you've traded up in the third round for CJ Beathard, Jalen Hurd, Trey Sermon, Ty Davis Price, and I believe Danny Gray. The last one you got to check. But I mean, they've traded up for those guys. Those are their hand-picked. Like we don't want any of these guys. We want that guy. Yeah. So 8-10 misses. I mean, Sterling, they've only run 9 drafts, right? They have 18 misses in the first 3 rounds. That means they're averaging 2 misses per draft in the first 3 rounds. So that's why Niner fans are pushing back going, wait a second. I understand the need for young players, but we're not picking the right young players, so we need to go for more sure things. I mean, Les Snead did this. He was hitting, missing, hitting, missing, hitting, missing. So what did he do? He said, screw this. We're going to trade for Stafford. We're going to bring in Ramsey. We're going to bring in veterans. We're going to go for Von Miller. And they added 5 or 6 key stars at the top of their roster, won the Super Bowl. So all I'm saying is if you're hitting on those picks, one thing, but the real downside is that they're not hitting on those picks. You know, now there's a failure rate so I'm not saying that you should hit, like you don't hit 100%. And that's part of the draft, right? You don't hit 100%. That's all I'm saying is that, you know, if you trade for Stafford, you hit. If you trade for Myles Garrett, you hit. If you trade for Aiden Hutchinson, whatever, you hit. If you get the star, you hit. If you get the picks, you might hit like Dallas hit, or you might not hit like the Rams hit when they traded Eric Dickerson. So it's a crapshoot. But I'm just saying that the real issue is that Niner fans are looking at this going, well, wait a second. You chose to preserve your draft capital. That's great. But we're not really, you know, we're missing 2 out of every 3 picks on average under this regime on the first 2 days of the draft. And that at its core is the problem. That's all I'm saying.
could I push back a little bit
Say
that
push back.
No, I think it's a great debate because, like, yeah, you are right. They have missed a ton of picks. It has set them back a ton, whether it's first round draft picks, third round draft picks. I mean, there's so like the Cam Latu pick, the Jake Moody pick are just disasters, right? And a lot of their misses have held them back, and you can only think, like you said, of how good the team could be had they hit. But I could also state that their entire defense right now, like Upton Stout, albeit in year one still, is a starting nickelback as a third rounder. The hope, which is always hope, though he'll get better as the year goes on. Renardo Green, not having the greatest sophomore year, but has been playing better as of recent, had a pretty good rookie season, is a second-round draft pick. Dominic Cooney, who was hurt to begin the year, had a really good rookie season and is playing better now as a third-round draft pick. And so I think that, yes, there's misses, and they've sucked, and they've held this team back in loads of different directions. But there was no Matthew Stafford, Von Miller, Odell Beckham Jr. There was no guaranteed hit at the deadline, where I think San Francisco, like, had they had that guy, it was like, yeah, guarantee. Like, let's do that. And I think they would. I think this regime has shown that they will take risks. They've taken risks on guys that were 21 out of North Dakota State, and that guy was never good at all in the NFL.
I mean, were they ever going to do this? I mean, here's why. Because here's why I asked the question. Because Shanahan, at every turn, when asked about the trade deadline, always sounded like didn't think it was possible. John Lynch said in the off season, I think at the owners' meetings, we're going to take our lumps this year. So 100%. Is it possible that their whole master plan was just to go young, let your dead cap roll over, and chalk this year up? If it was, I think it's terrible timing. Well, not just because you're hosting the Super Bowl, but more because you've got 5 or 6 Hall of Famers who are unlikely to be better next year. I mean, they might be, but it's nonsensical that they should be, right? They should all be worse. So
right,
it's like
those
kind
Hall
of
of Famers are out right now.
Right, but you didn't know that when you started the season.
Right.
And it sounded
100%.
like their whole plan was to, I guess my question is to you, do you believe that the plan was to, kind of cleanse your cap, go young, and throw this year away as a developmental year? Do you believe that?
I think this year, to some degree, was, yes, we have to get younger. We have to cut some cap. Let's trade Debo. Let's trade away Jordan Mason. Let's cut some guys like Floyd and Malik Collins, and let's get younger, and let's get some better coaching in the building, and let's try to remain competitive and believe that you can if guys can remain healthy. And let's not be a contender for a Super Bowl, but let's be a contender for a playoff. Let's be competitive. Let's hopefully get some young guys some playoff experience. But if they're being honest with themselves, I don't think this year they had the aspirations to win a Super Bowl. I don't think they did. I think it was, let's take a step back, let's recalculate ourselves, and then let's go all in 26, in 27. And fans may hate that. Sure, you want to see your team win Super Bowls. That's why you're doing it. But I don't really even think them hosting the Super Bowl even matters to them when it comes to even being in it. I don't think they care. Like, they want to be in it, obviously, but I don't think it matters that much to them. I think it was take a step back, cleanse the books, if you will,
right,
and then get better in 2 years' time, and then go all in. That way you can make deadline deals, you can sign big name free agents, because they were doing that the last 3 seasons. I think they want to kind of recycle things if they can, just not this year. But to do that, you have to recycle and kind of retool now to get better in the future.
I mean, here's the other thing too. It's like, what would have helped them, and what could they have gotten? It's easy to be like, I don't want to trade a 1 for Trey Hendrickson. Okay, I don't either. Sure. I don't want to trade a 2 for Jermaine Johnson. I don't either. But what if you could have had a 27? What if you could have had a 2027 7th for Michael Clemens? Would you have done that? I probably would have. Could you have made that deal? I don't know. We'll never know. I mean, and then the other thing we don't know is that, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch like to, put themselves out there as like the masters of their universe, but they're employees that work for Jed. And it's possible that Jed said, hey man, I've spent, we got $100 million of dead cap. I just spent, $100+ million on Brock Purdy. I'm cash poor to the point where I'm taking new investors on my asset. Maybe he just said, I'm done spending. I'm done spending this year. Maybe it's not John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. Maybe it's the bosses over them said, this is the way it's going down. Because at no point did John Lynch ever make it sound like they were going to make a deal. At no point did Kyle Shanahan ever make it sound like a deal was possible. They really downplayed it the entire time. Almost like, you know what? We don't have that available to us. Now they're never going to say that, right? Because that would make them look small, and it would also throw their owner under the bus. And all of a sudden, people would just circle around Jed, and those guys would just be in huge trouble with Jed because it's like, dude, you just threw the owner under the bus. So they got to protect their owner. But I mean, what do you think? Do you think there's a chance that Jed and Dr. John and Denise just said, hey, you know what? You guys have spent a ton of our cash when we've gotten close and we went for it and this and that. And we're pulling back the purse strings and we're tightening the budget. I mean, otherwise why are the 49ers, who might be the best team in the league at signing undrafted free agents, college free agents, why in a year where they had this much turnover, this much opportunity as far as job openings, why were they 26th in undrafted free agent spending? Unless Jed just said, you're not spending any money. And they just were like, okay, all right. I mean, I don't think it makes football sense not to spend any money on college undrafted free agents. So when I see them not spending money in an area where they're dominant, it makes me think that it's not tied to any football-related decision, that it's probably tied to some budget restriction from the ownership. That's just a guess. I have no sources. But otherwise, why in the one area where you're really, really good, in a year where you have lots of turnover and you didn't sign veteran free agents, why wouldn't you spend $3 to $5 million extra? And instead of being 26th in college undrafted spending, how about being like 6th and get, 4 or 5 other guys? I don't know. I mean, that was the one area that made no sense. So it's like, wait a second, you're not going to sign undrafted free agents when you're really, really good at signing? I mean, what do you think Azeez Al-Shaair was? What do you think Raheem Mostert was? What do you think Jeff Wilson Jr. They found all kinds of guys. Yeah, Jordan Mason. You might be the best team in football at doing this, and you're going to sit this out? That just reeked of Jed. That didn't, because there was no football reason for that.
I would like to assume the reason why maybe the UDFA spending was down was because they had 11 draft picks, and they felt like we had 11 young guys coming in, and this, that, and the other. But I think you are right that this was a Jed and Parag, or above Kyle and John's head. They definitely hindered them in the offseason with spending. I'm sure if you ask John and Kyle, they want to go all in every single year. They want to go out there and get the biggest name free agent. They want to spend and get the biggest trade target out there on the market. They want to get their guy all the time. And you can tell that because of how they've worked in previous years, getting guys all the time. Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, and other guys like that. They haven't been afraid to really trade second-round draft picks and third-round draft picks at the deadline, or spend big money for guys like Javon Hargrave, who wasn't even good, but they spent because they needed a guy like him on their defense. But I think this was, in a way, Jed ownership, kind of, if you want to use the analogy of, daddy taking over and kind of taking the credit card back from the daughter or the son. Like, they're like, hey, like, you overspent, you've kind of, you're not really paying your debts back, you're not winning the big one. Let's kind of, pull the curtain back a little bit. Let's rip the floors out and let's kind of gut this thing to a certain degree, reinstall some hopefully better foundation, and then let's go forward as the years go on. So I do think that this was Jed and the front office, or the ownership group, telling John and Kyle, pump the brakes for a year. And then if you can draft well, then we can go forward again, but you have to prove that to us.
I think you're right. And if you really think about it, what you're saying there, if that was the case, that Jed's the boss and Jed said, we're tightening the purse strings, imagine now you're Lynch and Shanahan. When you get that news, what does that immediately do? It immediately puts you in an absolute pickle, because the last thing you can do is publicly admit to this while you have Trent Williams.
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna waste Trent Williams, the twilight of his Hall of Fame career, playing cap games and rolling money over. I mean, think about this year. The Niners were rolling over more money than any team in football, and they had more dead cap than any team in football. So that right there made winning this year very challenging. So maybe it makes some sense to punt until 26, but doesn't make sense for Trent. And that I think so. Immediately, if Jed did say that, hey, there's going to be a belt tightening, immediately Lynch and Shanahan kind of knew that they were going to have to be almost like double agents this year, because they couldn't be like, we're tearing it down to the studs. Because then Trent's like, hey, okay, send me to Denver or send me somewhere else. I want to go somewhere else because I'm not down for the rebuild. I'm here. I'm gonna give you the last year of my NFL life, or one of the last years of my NFL life. I want to be able to win a ring. So, and they know that, but they also know their employees, to Jed. So, I mean, if Jed did make that claim and make that demand, a tight belt tightening, it put Shanahan and Lynch in a very much of a pickle with maybe their best player, which is a dynamic that's interesting. All right, let's talk about the game this Sunday. Give me a key for the Niners on offense. What do you think is the number one key for the 49ers on offense in this game against the Rams?
I think you have to bully their secondary. All your wide receivers have at least a 2-inch advantage. The secondary has not been great out there for the Rams this year. Their best guy is Darius Williams. He's a pretty small guy on the outside. They wouldn't got Roger McCreary, but even then, a lot of yak on his coverage slate so far this season. I think there's a reason you saw Mac Jones throw 45 times week 5. You can bully that Rams secondary around. Quentin Lake is really good. That's kind of the only guy they got in that room that's really worth anything. I think I'm not saying drop back 40 times again, but I do think that you can bully the Rams secondary. Their linebackers aren't great in coverage. It's Sean Dolak, who's a really good player, UDFA to Buffalo. But you have George Kittle, who wasn't playing in that game week 5. If it's me, I want to bully that Rams secondary for 4 quarters on Sunday.
Shanahan quoted a stat this week when I asked him about the Rams defense that I just couldn't believe. He said the Rams, Sterling, have not given up 1 3rd and 12 or more conversion on 3rd and 12 or longer. Okay, so 3rd and 12, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 14, all the way up. They haven't given up a 3rd and 12 conversion all year. Wow. And it's week 9. We've played 9 weeks of football. And Shanahan said it's almost unheard of. So my whole thing is I think the key is you absolutely have to, I don't care if you got to be more simplistic with your play calling, but you can't have negative plays on 1st and 2nd down against this team. They're death. If you get into 3rd and long against the Rams, you're going to be punting. So you got to get it done on 1st and 2nd down, man. You can't have penalties. You can't have, sacks. You gotta, if you're going to run it, man, you gotta try to get, any positive yardage you can. If you're going to pass it, your ball's got to come out quick. You can't hold the ball against this defensive line, especially with Verse and Young off the edges. They're just totally dominant. But I think it's avoiding negative plays on 1st and 2nd down, I think, is their offensive key. If they can just stay in 3rd and manageable most of the day, because I was talking to Kubiak today, and he's like, when they get to 3rd and long, bad things happen. When they get you into 3rd and long, bad things happen for you against their defense. So I'm going to say, somehow 1st and 2nd down. Avoid negative plays on 1st and 2nd down. It's got to be the key offensively. It's
a good point, too, because the Rams in the last 3 weeks have allowed 4.4 yards per carry to their opposing offenses, which the Saints didn't really run the football. Taysom Hill was lead back in that game. It wasn't Kamara. The Jaguars, they ran the football a lot, but not very well. Then Derrick Henry gashed them for 24 carries and 124 yards. Meanwhile, San Francisco, albeit playing not great run defenses, is averaging 4.4 yards a carry. If you do 4.4 times 2, it's around 9. So you're pretty much going to be third and short if you can throughout the game, hopefully. So might be right there, Larry.
Let's flip the card. What's the key on defense for the Niners? I asked Robert Saleh about the Rams playing a lot of 13 personnel with the 3 tight ends. They've been using that that personnel grouping to try to run the ball a little bit. He actually said that he thinks that because they're getting receivers back here, that they may go 12 personnel, and they're getting ready for a lot of 12 personnel, which is 1 running back, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. That all being said, what do you look at, Sterling, as the 49ers key on defense in this one?
Yeah, I think the last couple weeks, whether it's the last 3 weeks or 5 weeks, I'm pretty sure it's the last 3 weeks or so. The Rams have run 75% of their plays with 3 wide receivers. I think it is the coverage over the middle, whether it's D Winters if he plays this Sunday. But my money or my mind and my eyes are going to be on Tatum Bethune. How does Stafford manipulate him? Does he play undisciplined like he did against the Houston Texans, or does he look like he did against the Giants and against the Falcons? So I think one big aspect of this game is Bethune against Stafford. Does Stafford just eat him up, or can Bethune hopefully play disciplined, not evade his zones and whatnot? So I think it is the coverage over the middle of the football field. These Rams want to get guys in space the last 3 games. Maybe it changes on Sunday with 12 personnel, but I just think that over the middle coverage, it's no Warner. Now it's Bethune. I'm pretty sure they're going to want to target him over and over again. So I would look there.
I think it's going to be the Niner linebacker play. I'm not sure exactly who's going to play. I mean, did you see D Winters was out today, and that's a big one. The one thing about last week's game, they didn't necessarily do a great job wrapping against Devin Singletary. And it wasn't like, they really wrapped up well. I mean, and Winters is kind of a hitter. They got a couple guys on defense who are more hitters than tacklers. And to me, that's a big one. Kyren Williams, you got to wrap up on Kyren because, I mean, in the first matchup, they threw Kyren 10 passes out of the backfield. He caught 8. He had 66 yards receiving. He had 65 yards rushing. You got to wrap up on Kyren. He's small. He's not the biggest back, but he's hard charging. He's got great contact balance. He really wants it. To me, he's the guy. I mean, if you wrap up consistently on Kyren Williams and don't give him lots of extra yards, I think you got a chance to win. I mean, they've obviously Stafford and he's got an incredible passing attack, and he's got Puka, he's got Adams. I mean, he's got guys. But to me, Kyren Williams is kind of the key cog, and if you can slow him down, I think they got a shot.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Let's hit a couple more here. Breakout candidate. Who in the second half? I've got a list of players here that haven't done it yet. Basically, I think they're pretty good players. But they haven't really broken out yet. And this is the list. I've got young players who I think have upside potential to maybe break out second half of the year. Jordan Watkins, Demarcus Robinson, who's more of a veteran. Jordan James hasn't played yet. Keon White, who actually led the 49ers. He had a team-high 31.3% win rate in true pass sets in this game against the G-Men. Darrell Luter, C.J. West, Marquise Siegel. West was inactive last week, so was Siegel. Robert Beal, William Bradley King, Sebastian Valdez, Sincere McCormick. I even threw Tatum Bethune in there, but you could argue he's already busted out. Do you see, is there a player on that list that you think potentially could have a bust out in the second half of the year?
Of the group you listed, I think Keon White probably has the best chance just because he's probably going to get the most opportunity of that group. The play inside, play outside, I think they're going to have to lean on him now. They didn't make a deadline deal, so Keon White's kind of the guy going forward. And You're not going to have Yetur Gross-Matos back for the next 3 to 4 weeks or so, if not longer. And no Michael now. Like Keon White kind of becomes the guy next to Samuel Kawanu and Bryce Huff, who's back in this game. So I think Keon White makes the most sense there. I think he's a really underrated player. The Pats just didn't know how to use him very well with the new regime out there. So I do think it's Keon White, at least of the group that you mentioned.
I know who they want it to be. They want it to be Robert Beal. I mean, I'm at practice and they are, Chris Kasarik. Come on, Rob. Chris Kasarik's assistant D-line coach. Rob this, Rob that. No dancing, no this, no that. There's a little junk in his pass rush. He sometimes does a little bit of, almost kind of like a Pajemski trying to shake somebody on the
perimeter. It's like a little hezzy.
Yeah, he does like a kind of little hezzy thing, and he does too much of it. And it's like Chris is just losing his mind on the practice field. Rob, keep running, keep going, cut that out. Go, straight through the bag, straight, and it's like they are trying, Sterling, to get it out of him. He is 6'4". He is 260. He runs in the 4.4s. He is very, very athletic. He's showing that athleticism and power and strength and everything on special teams. He's really dangerous on special teams. He has not been able to translate that to the field. He is their 5th defensive end, and I'd say he's got a week or two to get it going. And they're trying. They're pleading. Chris is pleading with him. He's trying, prodding him, trying to get his game, trying to clean up the junk that he has in his pass rush moves, trying to streamline everything about it. And they're just trying to get him to go straight line, no dance, no this, no circuitous, angles, straight line through your target. And he had his best game last week. I think he had like a bunch of pressures, 4 or 5 pressures, or maybe more. That's the guy that I'm hoping can bust out. Now, there's no reason to believe he can. None. Seriously, he's been in the league a while, right? It's happening. Plenty of people would say, hey, man, if it was going to happen, it would have already happened. But that would be the guy that I think they're hoping bust out because he's got the physical ability. If I had to say who I think's going to bust out, I'd probably go with Jordan Watkins. I think Watkins really, really looks good to me. Now, I'm a big Watkins fan.
Yeah.
He only had 1 catch.
But it was a nice catch.
It was a nice catch. And he's got the kind of physical speed and strength that I think would be great. So we'll see. A couple last ones here, and then we'll hit some supers and jet. I'm not okay with using CMC at the end of games to finish games. And I asked CMC about it, and he's like, I just take the ball, and I'm not worried beginning, middle, and I'm doing this. I got the same mindset, whether it's the first quarter, fourth quarter. And then I mentioned it to Shanahan. I'm like, what are the prerequisites that you need to see from a back before you'll allow him to finish? And he kind of sidestepped the whole thing and kind of made it seem like he doesn't have any, there's no difference to him as far as finishing backs. But I don't think he was being totally, I think he might have been being a little disingenuous because he really did use CMC a lot in the first half. And a lot of times they were using Elijah Mitchell at the end of games. And I think it was because he doesn't have a lot of negative plays. He never fumbles. He's very dependable. But they're not using Brian Robinson. They get up 2 scores, and with 4 minutes left, they're still hitting the ball to CMC. He can't be both. He can't be both this essential key cog that you cannot be without, and also worthy of running when you're up 10 at the 4-minute mark, trying to run out the clock, and those carries that and I know. If everybody in the stadium knows you're trying to make the losing team or the soon-to-be losing team burn their timeouts, it just becomes all 11 guys hunting the running back because everybody knows you're going to run. And in those, everybody knows you're going to run running plays. Shouldn't they put that on somebody else? Shouldn't they use some other back for those carries? To me, this is like one of those things. It's no big deal until what happened to Bryce Huff happens to CMC, where you lose him for 2 weeks on the last play of the game. He can't be both. He can't be both totally indispensable and the back that you finish with. So what do you think? Should they finish with CMC because he's their best and it's hard to win games in the NFL? Or should they take the macro view of the year and say, hey, look, we want CMC to be healthy in the playoffs. Let's take 5 or 6 of these thankless end of game carries off of him. What do you think?
Yeah, I think obviously it depends on the game and how's it going, but the Giants game, for example, you just watch Michael Williams tear his ACL and he's out for the year, and you're trotting out Christian McCaffrey again for the final drive. Like, what are we doing? I don't love that. Brian Robinson averaged like 10.3 yards a carry against the Giants. It was like bulldozing their entire defense for the 10 carries that he had or whatever he had on Sunday. Yeah, I don't love that. I don't love your most important offensive player getting carries up, 2-3 scores in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes left, knowing you have to have 1, maybe 2 first downs to like put things on ice. If you get into that situation again, I think Kyle will do exactly what he did again, but I would hope you put CMC on ice and say, hey, go ahead to the tub. Like, your day's over. You don't have to come out here. Like, treat him as in some capacity, like a late inning defensive substitution during baseball. Rafael Devers hits 2 home runs, dropped by 10. He doesn't need to play anymore. Take him out of the game in the 8th inning. I think that you're kind of begging for how important CMC is, that you want to preserve his legs. Him getting carries in the fourth quarter up 3 probably isn't a good idea going forward.
All right, let's hit our Habas Law supers, and then we got the big finish, and we'll get out of here on a Thursday night. Let me just put this on the board. We're, of course, brought to you by Habas Law. 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. Omar Habas and Tarek Habas, great guys and sponsors of the Krug Show. They're doing some incredible stuff, and I just, these guys are fantastic. They did a pet adoption deal. They sponsored San Jose State, Hawaii. Just doing a lot of really cool things, and they did a whole benefit for people that don't have SNAP benefits, and they're just, Habas Law is doing the right thing in the community. I really appreciate them, and I'm glad to be associated with them. So if you are in need of someone in your corner, call the law firm. The insurance companies hope you never call, and that's Habas Law. They'll fight to make it right. Visit them on the web at habaslaw.com, HABBAS law.com. 1-800-INJURED is their number. Once again, they will fight to make it right. Habas Law, and thanks to Habas Law for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. Let's hit the supers. We got 9 of them here. Kles Limperio says, okay, Larry, I'm bummed. I bought a You're Lazy Larry shirt and didn't get a thank you video. Damn it. Kles, I do videos for everybody. So I might be a week or 2 behind, but if you bought it in like the last week or 2, it's still coming. If you've, I have a company that sends out the shirts, and then they send me alerts, and then I do the videos. So I will make sure you get your video. And thank you for buying the Krug Show shirt. We appreciate you. Joseph Ernberg says, no controversy. Mac is just better. There's a lot of people that feel that way. Now, I personally think Brock's mobility pushes him past Mac, but I do love what Mac looks like in this offense. And I don't think it's accidental. And I think the 49ers, I really think if you really wanted to say, what is the biggest positive of the season? It's no doubt that finding Mac Jones, having him under contract next year for $7 million, you now have 2 quarterbacks that, in a league where there aren't teams that have even one sometimes, you have 2 quarterbacks that you can win with, that you could potentially trade one of them. They're in a very good situation right now because of their signing. Ernberg says, I don't care if he's 100 or not. He's paid, so he should play. Who's he talking about?
Brock Purdy, I think.
Oh. Silence says, no Super Bowl, IR Purdy, and let Mac build value for the draft. There's a lot of people that want to see that. Ernberg says they suck at drafting and don't play drafted players. Well, they've had a good draft the last couple of years, but yeah, when you look at those 18 missed picks in the first 3 rounds and then realize they've had 9 drafts, you're like, well, wait a second, 18, 9, that means they're missing 2 a year in the first 3 rounds. That's too much. I mean, you can miss, I love Lynch, and I think Lynch is a really great face of the franchise, but you got to hit at a higher clip than that. If he was standing right here, I would say to him, I respect you, but you need to hit at a higher clip than what you're hitting at right now. And I think he understands that. I think, John's a smart guy. SF Niners 808. Just say this. If they traded a fourth for a pass rusher, we'd all be happy. They'd have 4 picks that round. They should have gotten someone. Yeah, I mean, it's easy for us to say they should have gotten someone. We don't know who was out there and what the price tags were. And I get the feel, and I everything that Sterling laid out there, I agree with. I think Hendrickson, the ask was a first. I wouldn't have given a first. Jermaine Johnson, the reports are the ask was a second. I wouldn't have given a second. Even the Dolphins, they said that they wanted a third for Bradley Chubb. I like Bradley Chubb. I wouldn't have given a third for Bradley Chubb. Yeah. So I really don't. My whole thing would have been like, could you find a Michael Clemens for like a 27 7th? Right. And if you could have, I would have tried that. But even so, maybe the guy that you can poach off a practice squad. I mean, heck, who looked better last week? Even though Keon White had some good numbers, I thought Cleveland Farrell actually looked better.
Yeah, tremendous.
And he was on a practice squad. So it's like, just because you're on a practice squad doesn't mean, and he was actually cut loose from the Chargers practice squad. He was just a street free agent, but most of the year he was on their practice squad. Just because you're on the practice squad doesn't mean, and I've heard people say to me, Krug, you're saying go get these practice squad guys, but by definition, they're not good because they're on the practice squad. And I'm like, no. I mean, football's uneven, right? So, like, some teams have a great O-line. Some teams have no O-linemen. Some teams have a great linebacking core. Some teams have no linebackers. So it's not even. So, like, just because you have a linebacker on your practice squad, you might have a great linebacking core. Like, that's why, like, most of the guys that I was recommending that the Niners go and pick off are guys that are on Philly, Kansas City, Baltimore, the really good teams practice squad, because a lot of times those teams are really good for a reason. They load up on their practice squad, and some of those guys can play. I mean, guys go, believe it or not, from the practice squad to the active roster and sometimes establish themselves and get it going. Thank you, SF9er. We got this one from PDX. I think that Hargrave and the extensions last year made it pretty hard to take a big swing again. A backfire trade equals a hole that they can't get out of. They have taken their shots. They took a big shot on Hargrave. They asked for $20 million extra from Jed, and I'm sure Jed reminded them of that when it didn't work out. And it didn't work out. I mean, he was okay, but not great, And he definitely wasn't worth that money. Heated Heavy says, Krug, went to Claudetti's at the Visalia Mall. I won a toy for my 3-year-old, and I mentioned I heard about them from you, and the gentleman gave my son a free toy. Cool place.
That's awesome.
Well, that is cool. Thanks to Claudette Arcades for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. Claudette Arcades is a sponsor of the Krug Show. They're a great follow on Instagram at Claw_Daddy_Arcades. They paid for our trip to New Orleans and will be paying for our postseason travel as well. So thank you, Claudette Arcades, and thank you for the trip you sent us on, and maybe thanks in advance for the playoff trip that we may be going on. What if you had to guess right now? I think I have it. If the season, this is the playoff picture right now in the NFC. Eagles are the 1. Tampa's the 2. They would take on Detroit as the 7. The Niners are the 6. They would take on Seattle as the 3. And the Rams are the 5 and would take on Green Bay as the 4 in Green Bay. Sterling, I'm looking at this. If you said to me, and we could do this real quickly, Philly's got to buy 3 games this weekend for the playoffs. Detroit at Tampa, Niners at Seattle, Rams at Green Bay. I will take Detroit over Tampa, Rams over Green Bay, and I will take the Niners. I will take the 3 lower seeds to beat the 3 higher seeds. Niners beat Seattle, Rams beat Green Bay in Green Bay, Lions beat Tampa in Tampa. What do you think?
That seems pretty plausible to me. Like, the Rams are a lot better than the Packers are, and I think San Francisco, for as good as the Seahawks have been this year, really good on the road. Not the same team at home so far.
You're right. Have they won at home? Maybe once.
I think they beat the Texans at home, I think.
So think about it this way. So that's the playoff. I mean, obviously there's a lot of maneuvering. This is not going to be the final rankings of how they look. But let's just say this was it. Okay, so then if that happened, Detroit beat Tampa, Niners beat Seattle, Rams beat Green Bay. Detroit would be the lowest remaining seed. They would go to Philadelphia. So you'd have Detroit in Philly and the Niners in LA against the Rams, right? Okay, if the Niners won that game, they would either go and play the NFC Championship game in Philadelphia, or if Detroit, who I do believe could and potentially would upset the Eagles, the Niners could have the NFC Championship game against the Lions at Levi's. I mean, it's wild. It's a
Sign
wild,
me up.
it's a wild thing, but how cool would that be?
That'll be
Rematch
awesome.
of Niners-Lions at Levi's for the right to go to the Super Bowl. Dan Campbell back at the spot where he went for it on 4th down 3 times, and he shouldn't have. By the way, Colts are the number 1 seed in the AFC right now. The 2 seed is New England. The 3 seed is Denver. The 4 seed is Pittsburgh. The 5 seed is Buffalo. The 6 seed is the Chargers. The 7 seed is Jacksonville. So I could see it would be New England, Jacksonville. Who do you think wins that? New England. Right?
New England, yeah, New England.
Chargers, Denver in Denver.
I'd probably say Denver.
Buffalo, Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. Buffalo.
I would like to assume Buffalo, yeah.
So that would mean that Buffalo would take on the Colts and Denver would take on the Patriots. I'm telling you, the Patriots could wind up in the AFC Championship game. Wouldn't that be something?
They're good. Drake May looks awesome.
They do. And how about this? The New England Patriots are the only team in the NFL to not allow even a 50-yard rusher so far this year.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? Ernberg says, I think Mac throws 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 356 yards, Niners 35-17. What? Oh, he's a big Mac guy. He's a big Mac.
Awesome.
That is, whoa, that's big. All right. Let's finish with the big finish here. 2 topics. One is kind of a fun one. There are, I think, 15 finalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame coaches category, and 3 of them have ties to the Niners. George Seifert, Mike Holmgren, Mike Shanahan, all eligible for the coaching category for the 26 Hall of Fame class. If you had a vote and you had to give it to Seifert, Holmgren, or Mike Shanahan, who is getting your Hall of Fame vote?
Probably Mike Shanahan. The Denver success, I think, carries him over the top. I think that's kind of where people would lean towards. Holmgren, to me, I don't think he ever got a ring outside of, as a head coach. I don't think he ever got a ring.
Yeah, didn't he win a ring? He won a ring with, didn't they beat New England?
I don't think he was there. That was Carroll, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Holmgren was gone by then.
I thought that was. You might be right. I could have swore Mike got one and lost the second one.
Did he get it in Green Bay as an assistant? Maybe.
No, he wasn't an assistant there. He was the head coach there. Let's see. What did he win? He won a Super Bowl. He won Super Bowl 31.
So that's Green Bay probably then.
Yeah, Green Bay beat Patriots. That was the Desmond when Desmond Howard was in his heyday. That was so that was his only one as a head coach. He won one as a head coach. He won Super Bowl 23 and 24 with the Niners as the OC.
Right.
But only one head coach. He won a national championship as a player. But won one Super Bowl. He's in the Green Bay Hall of Fame. Shanahan won 2 as the head coach, and he won 1 as the Niners offensive coordinator. Seifert won 2.
Yeah.
But then he went 1. Didn't he go like 1-15 or something in Carolina? I think that's what cost Seifert is his bad year in Carolina. So you're going Mike Shanahan.
Yeah, I think out of kind of default. People like the Broncos years.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good call. Mike Shanahan's a good call. All right, let's go. Let's finish up with since we're at the mid-season point. Let's finish up with some mid-season awards. MVP of the 49ers in the first half of the year goes to
Christian McCaffrey.
It's got to be CMC. It's got to be.
It was obvious.
Yeah. It's got to be Christian. It's got to be Christian. Rookie of the year for the Niners. Who gets your vote? It's tough because there's guys that I really like Nick Martin and Jordan Watkins, who haven't done anything yet, and then there's guys that have done some things, and McKell's done a lot, but now he's hurt. So who do you have? Who's Alfred Collins had that amazing play against the Rams, and his snap count is definitely ascending week by week.
I think I'll go with Upton Stout to begin the year, with the understanding I think Alfred Collins will probably get it when the year's over with.
Yeah, I'm going Upton Stout too. I think Upton Stout, when you factor in the violence, the physicality, to me, when I watch Upton Stout, I see a guy who's physically dominant despite being 5'8". He's strong, he's explosive, he's fast, but he's also mentally dominant. You can see he's like so smart. The last week in that second series on that third down play, he kept the guy in front of him, made the tackle, and just sprinted off the field because he understood the down and distance. He knew where the chains were. He knew the guy didn't reach the chains. He knew he had made the stop, and he knew they were coming off the field. And it's like, it looks like no big deal. Like, oh yeah, down and distance, everybody knows. But no, that's not necessarily the truth. Sometimes guys are a little bit in a fog. This guy really is smart and physically dominant. I'm going to say Upton Stout, Rookie of the Year. Yeah. Most improved 49er. Who do you got?
Ooh. Wow.
There's some good ones here. I mean, you go Mac Jones.
Yeah.
You could go Sam O. You could go Tatum Bethune, right? You could go Ricky Pearsall. You could go Kendrick Bourne. I probably would go with Jake Tonjes.
That's what I was going to say, Jake Tonjes. Yeah.
Yeah, Tonjes. I mean, he was a nothing player last year for them. He didn't do anything. I mean, not that they didn't like him. They liked him, but he was strictly a special teamer. Kittle goes down. They needed him badly to step up, and he did. I mean, he caught that ball in Seattle. He attacked that thing, but then he made a number of nice plays. I've been very impressed by Tonjes.
Really good hands. Really good hands.
Yeah, really good hands. Best off-season addition. What are you going with? This is probably a Mac Jones, Robert Saleh debate, but maybe not. I mean, Bryce Huff is pretty freaking amazing too.
How about with Saleh and Jones and Huff being clear cut, like those can easily be choices. How about Brant Boyer? This special teams unit is not just in the positive; they're like the 9th ranked unit in football this year. It's crazy.
Or if you just want to say Brant Boyer, how about Eddie Pinheiro?
Yeah. What a midseason pickup that was.
I mean, 19 for 19. I mean, he has just been incredible. Your favorite moment of the first half? Favorite moment of the first half?
I think it has to be Alfred Collins smacking the crap out of Kyron Williams' face, then it's going right down to the ball at the goal line. That was awesome to see the Rams fans in despair, Kyron on the sideline crying. It was just like, this is what we live for as Niner fans. That was the moment so far.
That's a great one, man. That's a great one. I'll go Tonjes on the catch in Seattle. I mean, that ball was picked. That thing, I mean, if that's a pick right there, I mean, it's just changes everything. Instead, he attacked it. That was such a great play. I'll go with Tonjes there. But yeah, I think most people would probably say what you said, which is that fumble. The guy. I mean, it's one of the greatest defensive plays a 49er defensive lineman has ever made. I mean, I've been watching Niner football religiously since 80. And I can't remember too many times goal line and the guy's being double teamed away from the ball and he splits the double and then shoots his arm across and punches the guy in the face. and then the ball comes out, and then he falls on the ball at the one. I mean, if he had done like one of those things, if he had just split the double team and tackled the guy, wow. If he had just, raked him across the face like that, you'd be like, wow. If he just popped the ball out, you'd be like, wow. If he just recovered it, you'd be like, wow. He did it all on one play. I mean, it's just an awesome. I was talking to, I forget which D tackle I was talking to. Oh, I was talking to Elliott, Jordan Elliott. And I'm like, dude, you play this position. That play was just crazy. And he's like, it's all the greatest plays that you can think of, all wrapped up into one.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's totally
That's
true.
true. Yeah.
Man, it's so true. Okay. Let's see. We got, where's my list here? My Mastros. Here it is. Which coach are you giving coach of the year? You giving it to Boyer? You giving it to Saleh? You giving it to Shanahan? Who's getting your coach of the? I mean, you doesn't have to be those guys. It could be anybody. Who are you giving your coach of the year to?
Well, they're all three great choices. I think I'll go Robert Saleh. We gave Brent Boyer the offseason signing of the year so far. I think Saleh deserves it. The defense coming into the year was young, albeit healthier, and there are still a lot of questions there. Their secondary is so young still. Everybody besides Lenore is in year 1 or 2, and they're going out there making plays. Then you lose Fred, and you lose Nick Bosa. Like, it just, I don't know. It's hard to even fathom how good the defense has been, despite how many guys they've lost so far. So Robert Saleh deserves it, I think, hands down.
I'm going to go with Johnny Holland. I mean, look at the way he's prepped Tatum Bethune. Look at the improvement of D. Winters.
Yeah.
If you talk to Robert Saleh, they still have really high hopes for Nick Martin. I mean, look at what Tatum Bethune was a 7th-round pick.
Yeah.
To turn a 7th-round pick into a guy who had 16 tackles. And when I talked to Tatum about it, he's like, "Yeah, man, Johnny's in my ear. Johnny's my conscience. Johnny's he really helps. Johnny's a fantastic coach." So I'm going to say Johnny because of the way Tatum Bethune has come on. Last one. Make a bold 49ers based prediction for something that's going to happen later this year. Do you have a bold 49er prediction? Just
I don't know how bold it is, but I think San Francisco goes to the playoffs as a wild card team. I think they win their first playoff game this season.
Wow. Okay. They go to the wild card. They don't win the division, but they go to the wild card and they win a playoff game.
They upset somebody.
Okay. I like that. These are always tough because we're so wrapped up in this thing,
right,
that it's like some of these predictions. Okay, I'm gonna make a bold prediction. I don't know if it's gonna be right. It's very bold. It's very bold. Okay. Robert Beal Jr. has a 2-sack game in the next month.
Okay. I like that.
I mean, that's super bold, but I'm watching his talent, and the talent is there. I'm watching their coaching. They're coaching him, Sterling, like he is their, it's Star Wars all over again. Obi-Wan, you're my only hope. It's like Robert Beal, you're our only hope. I mean, literally, the way they're coaching him, you would swear that if he doesn't fulfill his potential, they're going nowhere. They're coaching him up like he is the solution. And I just think he's too big, too fast, too athletic. There's going to be too many opportunities here, and they're on him. And I kind of feel like it's now or never for him. In many teams, he would have already been cut and kicked down the road. But here, because of the injuries and whatnot, he's getting this reprieve and this next opportunity. And I just think that Chris is such a great coach, and his assistant coach is a really good coach. And Beal's got so much physical ability. I just think that they're going to get in his grill, chew him up, and he's going to come out on fire, and he's going to have a 2-sack game. And then people are going to be like, Robert Beal, Robert freaking Beal. Unbelievable. Who knew? So there you go. There's my bold prediction. Robert Beal has a big 2 sack game coming up. I was going to say 3, but I can't go crazy.
You can't stretch it too far.
Seriously. I mean, then it goes, then people will be like, what? Krug, come on, you're losing it. What do you got cooking, Sterling? Tell people about your channel. Tell people where they can find you, what kind of content you put out, how often you put it out. Sterling does great stuff. He's got great opinions on the Niners and a lot of good content, and has been covering the Niners for 95.7 The Game, and is part of their pre and post game shows and what they're putting on 49er wise over there. Say hi to Matt Nahagian for me. But tell people if they're stumbling into you for the first time and they don't know where your YouTube channel is, where they can find you. Obviously, it's linked here, so tell them where they can go, and see if we can drive some people towards your channel.
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at 49ers Access or on the podcasting platform, Spotify, Apple, all those things, under the exact same name, 49ers Access. We do things like this. We debate, we talk about the draft, trade deadline. I just previewed the Niners and Rams game this morning, and we're having a good time over there. Tomorrow, have a show around 2 o'clock reacting to Kyle Shanahan's practice press conference leading into Sunday against LA as well. So we're doing all things Niners over there. Post around 3 to 4 times each week, but definitely previews and reactions to every single game. And as always, Larry, it's always fun to have be on here with you on Thursday nights.
Oh, awesome. And what time will you guys come on right after the game on the post game on 95.7? And then how long do you typically go? Like 90 minutes or so, or
yeah, we go about 2 hours after every single game. If the Giants game is any indication of how the season could go, might be on 10 minutes before it's over with. But usually, as soon as the clock hits 0, we're on the air talking Niners on 95.7 The Game.
And who are you on there with?
It is myself and Mark Grandy.
There you go. Grandy, the Grandy man, and Sterling Bennett. Check these guys out after 49er football. And, of course, we're doing what we're doing over on KMBR. They're doing what they're doing over at 95.7. I'm doing what I'm doing over at the Krug Show on YouTube. And somehow it all works out and everybody gets some great content. So that's going to do it for us. Thanks to the links are in the description for all of the sponsors. Hit like and subscribe on your way out the door. If you hit like, just more people can find us in the algorithm overall. And if you hit subscribe and click that notification bell anytime we go live, you don't have to miss a minute of the action. For Sterling, I'm Larry. Have a great Thursday night. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful.